Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us in this short video where we will be explaining the new norms and requirements for our masses daily and weekend. Just so that everyone is on the same page, all the church will be locked. The churches will be locked during the times of the masses. There will be one entrance at the front of the church, and there will be two exits, which will be the lateral doors on the side of the entrance of the church. There will be ushers at every door directing people to go to the main entrance of the church in order to enter into the building. The ushers, it's going to be very important for us to have a good number of ushers at every Mass. So for the time being, we are asking all liturgical ministers, Eucharistic ministers, lectors, and sacristans, anyone who is not serving in the Mass, to please be here early so that you can help as ushers in the Masses, because we will have ushers directing all of the faithful to their assigned seating. So as the faithful arrive at the church, the usher will open the door for them. They will let in the family or the faithful, and that person will be directed to the tables in the entrance of the church that will have hand sanitizers. Once they wash their hands with the hand sanitizer, then they will be directed, they will be walked to their assigned seating. The offertory the baskets will not be passed around during the Mass. The baskets will be laid out on the two credenzas in the back of the church, and people, as they're ushered into the church, will be directed to leave their offertory donations in the baskets before the Mass. Once people are seated in their assigned seatings, there will be two sections. Family, which will be the two main center sections, will all be families. And then the sides of the church will all be individuals. Every bench, every pew will have labeled whether it's a family or an individual, and people will be directed to sit only where those signs are. We will be skipping pews, and the pews that are not going to be seated will have will be roped off so that people cannot enter into those pews. Once everyone is seated in the church, our capacity for the main temple is 250 parishioners. Our chapel has adequate seating for 48 people in small family groups. Everything is already blocked off and in the assigned seating the way that it's appropriate. If our temple and chapel are filled to capacity, the main head usher that will be at the front of the church will begin directing the faithful, the overflow of faithful, to our parish hall. Our parish hall will also be designated and will have the live streamed Mass there in the parish hall. We have capacity for 100 faithful in the parish hall. For those faithful who prefer to watch the Mass in their cars, they can do so. They stay in their cars and they watch them via their telephones or their devices. And at the moment of communion, there will be ministers outside giving communion and also in the parish hall. During the communion, there will be two stations of ministers inside the temple. The priest and the deacon or minister will be in the front of the church on either side of the altar, and two ministers will be in the back on either side of the baptismal font. Ushers, very important that they begin directing the people to receive communion from the extremities of the church. So those people in the pews that are closest to the minister will receive first, and they will do the circle and go around their pews into their own respective aisles. Once the first two sections received communion, the ushers will move on to the other sections, the side sections, and will begin directing the traffic of faithful to receive communion. For those Eucharistic ministers that will be assigned outside by the Good Shepherd image and also the parish hall. In the moment of the Our Father, those two ministers will stand up and will go towards the altar and will go behind the altar where the credenza is, and there will be two ciboriums with pre-consecrated hosts set aside with a candle for those two specific ministers. Those two ministers will give each other communion, and then they will each go to their respective locations. With those two ministers will also be one usher per minister that will go with a basket, a collection basket, to outside parking lot and also to the parish hall, so that people who would like to give their donations may do so at that time. Once those ministers have finished distributing the communion, they return to the church and they return the ciboriums to the same place behind the altar on the credenza where the candle will be. There will be no hand holding or sign of peace during the Mass. And then before the Mass ends, before the final exit, the lector will stand up and will return to the altar, to the ambo, and will give the final announcement asking the faithful to please listen to the instructions of the ushers, because the exit will be in the same manner which was communion. The ushers will direct the faithful to go outside row by row towards the exits. We are asking the faithful not to congregate inside or outside of the church. Once you exit the church, we're asking that everyone go home, because we need to maintain social distancing inside and outside of the church. And after the Masses, we need a certain amount of time to disinfect all the pews before the next set of parishioners comes in. So everyone is directed to please go home and to give way and a place for the next set of parishioners that will be entering into the church after Mass. Doors will begin to be opened 15 minutes before the Mass is going to begin. So we have 15 minutes to seat all the parishioners that will be entering into the Mass. That's why it's important for us to have a lot of order in this time so that we don't extend the Mass. Masses will be shorter. You'll notice that there's going to be less singing. The homilies will be shorter. Priests are going to try to remain between 40 and 45-minute Masses so that it gives us plenty of time to sanitize and seat the next set of people. We thank you for your cooperation. We thank you for helping in this time of crisis. We are very grateful that we're opening our doors again and that we're able to celebrate as a family and worship the Lord together as a community of Good Shepherd. Thank you. God bless you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact the office. If you would like to volunteer as one of the persons who will help to be ushers or Eucharistic ministers or lectors, we ask you to please contact the office so that you can be directed to the appropriate person in charge of those liturgical ministries. Confession schedule will be the same as normal, Saturdays at 4 p.m. to 4:45, 6 p.m. to 6:30, or by appointment. You can contact the office. All of the information that we've provided in this video will be available on our website.